Aloha, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Triple F Podcast, Faith and Family First. And we're going to continue the discussion on abortion, even though I know many of you are saying, oh no, not again. Yes, again. So stay tuned for that. Jim, do you think that we will ever be able to not be talking about abortion in the state of Hawaii?
I don't know.
Well, no, I thought you were going to say, I don't know. I'm moving.
Well, I was gonna, but I changed my mind.
You thought I was going to correct you on that. But you know what? At this point, I think...
But you said in Hawaii, so that's why I don't know. I mean, the powers that be really worship their abortions. I don't know.
I can't figure it out. But I do know that I want to always be honest in our discussions. And so I want to be able to, first of all, let everybody know that now that crossover has taken place, of course, the SB1, SD2 passed the Senate easily, very easily. The only no votes were Senator Awa, Gabbard, and there was the third, Favela. So
I would like somebody to find out if any of them read Senate Draft 2. It's pretty long.
Well, Senator Joy Sanbuenventura says she says this publicly, that she always reads the bill and she reads every bit of testimony that's submitted.
That's fine, but she's only one vote out of 50.
Well, she was the
25.
She was the only one that actually stood up to say a few words on the Senate floor when the bill passed. So let's just take a quick couple of minutes so that our viewing audience and listening audience can hear what Senator Joy Sanbuenventura had to say.
Okay, then.
Standing Committee Report number 1079, third reading of Senate Bill 1, Senate Draft 2, relating to health care.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Oh, Senator Sanbuenventura.
Sorry. I'm standing strong support.
So we're back on discussion. Please proceed.
I'm sorry about that. 3 years before Roe versus Wade, in 1970, Hawaii became the first state to legalize abortion in a bipartisan effort led by Representative Pat Saiki. Today, with an affirmative vote for SB1, the Hawaii Senate has an opportunity to reaffirm that right. Like our colleagues did 53 years ago, the Hawaii Senate can stand behind and protect our medical providers from being arrested, subpoenaed, and prosecuted simply for providing safe abortions. By passing SB1, the Hawaii Senate can vote firmly that we stand by a person's right of privacy and a right of choice. Thank you. And I urge my colleagues to vote affirmatively for SB1.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator McKelvey.
Also in strong support, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
I would just like the words of the previous speaker into the journal as if they were my own.
So ordered.
And I'm just glad that we're doubling down on the executive order that was issued by the previous governor to protect our providers. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes for Senators Favela, Awa, and Gabbard.
22 ayes, 3 noes.
Thank you. SB1, SD2 passes third reading.
So, Jim, you and I talked last week in the show about the abortion bills that are moving through the legislative process. And we also kind of went over the bill, but we have to talk about it again because, as we have mentioned many a time on the show, they've changed it. There's a new version now. So the new version is Senate Draft 2. That's the one that passed in the Senate. It is now in the House. And so the process is going to begin again. But I really want people to understand what this bill does, because let me ask you this. Let's start with this, and then you can give me your thoughts on the bill. If the bill died, which it's not going to, our internal polling shows that it's probably going to pass handily in the House as well. But if the bill did die, would anything about abortion change right here in the state of Hawaii?
Nope.
So you don't think there is an absolute need for this bill to be passed?
Well, what they're doing with it now is going way beyond Roe. So they started by saying Dobbs got rid of Roe. We got to put Roe back in. Well, this is way beyond Roe. So they either changed their minds along the way or weren't forthright at the beginning. But I think what people need to do, and you're going to laugh when I say this, but we need to ask ourselves, why do the people in charge at the legislature so badly want to double down on abortion stuff when we've got live people that have nowhere to live? We've got live people who don't have enough money to buy food or gas or pay rent. You know what I mean? And the reason what we need to go back to is because that's their priority and we elected them. If we want people with a different priority, we got to elect different people.
Ding, ding, ding. James talking about elections again, as always.
No, but seriously. This is proof. Why are we talking about abortion? Because the people that got elected in Hawaii think it's the most important sacrament of their government.
That's what I thought you were going to say. If I said, are we going to be talking about this abortion? And I really thought you were going to say, well, yes, because the people in Hawaii continuously keep voting for the same people. And so that's what I tell people when they tell me, why do we have to keep fighting these bills over and over again? It's because the same people are in office. Yeah. And actually, the new ones that are coming in tend to be more progressive.
The younger ones.
So,
that's
yeah.
true.
So instead of us getting to more, I mean, I don't think that we're ever, and this is my opinion, and viewers and listeners, if you disagree, comment. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. But I don't think that Hawaii is ever going to be a conservative state. I just don't. I mean, maybe 50 years from now, if there's a big turn or whatever. But I would love to see Hawaii be more moderate in the sense of you've got maybe your center right people and your center left people to where there'd be a little bit more, I don't know, where I feel like they'd be able to be speaking on behalf of most people. Because I know that if you watch any of the interviews done by Planned Parenthood and their people, not only in Hawaii, but nationwide, you're going to see that they really feel like this bill or bills like these have to happen. They have to happen because of the overturn of Roe. As you know, Governor David Ige did a administrative order right away, after Roe. And when Governor Josh Green took over in office, he made it clear that he was going to also do something very similar. Well, the legislators stepped up, and a lot of their comments during the hearing was that they want to make sure that what David Ige did in his administrative order becomes part of the law, that it's enshrined in there. So the two things that we're going to be talking about today is SB1, SD2, the new version, so people know what's in it. And then we want to talk again about the constitutional amendment to enshrine abortion into our state constitution, because it's important and we want to keep talking about that. So,
well, and I want to talk about the constitutional amendment because we get to vote no and stop it from happening. We can't do anything with SB1. It's all in the hands of the legislator.
Right. And so SB1, I think that what we want to do is prepare people what Hawaii is going to look like once this bill passes.
But I do want to disagree with you on whether Hawaii will take 50 years to become conservative. First of all, I don't know what you mean by conservative. It's just a label. But I would say that the population in the state of Hawaii is much more traditional and conservative in their personal life than the legislature. They just don't participate at the legislature, and they don't use their values when they elect legislators. People in Hawaii are very much interested in taking care of their families. They're very much interested in working. They're very much interested in religion and safety from crime and, prices that they can afford to pay. So I think Hawaii is conservative if that's the definition of the label. But I think they fail to use those values when they cast their ballots. Well, and that's something I just don't get.
Well, when I'm using the term conservative, I'm kind of looking at it in a sense of a label. And I don't really want to do that. I don't like to do that. But I mean in the sense of where we'd be more not only so democratically controlled in this state, but there'd be some Republican input and maybe even some Republican bills that move forward. I'd like to see more of that. And so when I'm saying conservative, I kind of mean Republican, but Republicans don't always mean conservative.
No, they don't.
So that's why it's a general term. But although I want to agree with what you said about the people of Hawaii, the problem is there's no proof of this. The other side when you're listening to them at the Capitol, they're going to tell you that people overwhelmingly support a woman's right to choose and her ability to get an abortion. Then you have people on our side saying, no, there's a lot of people on our side that disagree with that, but maybe they don't want to go public. That's all great and good, but how do we prove that? How do we prove that rather than just doing talking points? Because I absolutely despise talking points. My gut instinct agrees with you that I think a lot of people are probably more on the side of abortion, maybe in the case of rape and incest. But on the other hand, this is just, I hear this quoted all the time, but nobody's ever able to put any real facts out there. And if I've learned anything from you, that's all speculation.
Well,
and I'm
that
surprised.
Is, every poll is
well,
speculation.
I know, but you're normally the one that goes, So, but I think I agree with you on that. But anyway, I'm trying to, I want people listening to this show when they, after they end the show today, I want them to at least be able to articulate what the bill is going to do based on what it says. Now, what I want to start with on SB1, SD2 is that it has 4 pages, Jim, of their introductory remarks.
Oh, they love those introductory
They really,
remarks.
really do. But there's a couple of things in here I want to highlight because it's interesting, right? So on page 3, it says, and I quote, and this, if you have the bill in front of you, peeps, it starts on line 16. Additionally, this act is intended to maintain the constitutional right to an abortion guaranteed by Roe versus Wade.
So let me stop.
Yeah, well,
First of all, there was absolutely no constitutional right to abortion in 1970 when Hawaii legislatively made abortion legal. We did it without a quote-unquote constitutional right. Then in 1973, the Supreme Court manufactured, through the penumbra of the rays of the sun behind the clouds that you really can't see, a constitutional right to abortion in Roe. And it was maintained through 50 years until 2022, when the Supreme Court, the same Supreme Court with different justices that 50 years earlier said there was a right to abortion in the penumbras of the rays of the light behind the clouds of the Constitution, the Supreme Court in 2022 said, no, it's really not. And we're just going to let the states regulate it, which is what Dobbs was. So the sentence saying they're trying to maintain a constitutional right, there wasn't one when Hawaii made it by statute before Roe. The one that Roe's court thought they found was determined by a subsequently equally powerful Supreme Court to not exist. There is no constitutional right to abortion. Go ahead with your second sentence.
Okay, so the reason I'm doing this is because, again, I want people to see this is what's written. This is what they passed. But
they make this stuff up in the preambles.
They do. And if you're going to testify on this bill, people do not put in there and going, we don't like that, because it's not going to be part of the law.
They made it up. It's not part of the law. They make it up to make themselves look and feel good.
Yeah. Okay, so continuing on, line 18. While the legal landscape has fundamentally changed, this act will amend the state's laws on abortion and reproductive rights so that they are reasonably similar to those that have existed for the past 50 years. Now, I did what learning from attorney Jim Hochberg did. I circled the word "and."
Okay.
Because they're going to amend state laws on abortion and reproductive rights.
And if reproductive rights used to be a euphemism for abortion, it means something else now.
Oh,
Don't know what it means.
Well, that's why we.
But it can't mean abortion because they're both.
That's
in the
right.
same
That's
sentence.
what I meant. And it says "and." And when you use "and," then you're talking about 2 separate and distinct things, right? Okay. So then,
good job.
Well, thank you. I'm learning from you, Jim. And then, okay, so on page 4, starting with line 1, it says the purpose of this act is to bolster the state's policy to protect an individual's right to privacy and bodily autonomy within the boundaries of the state, including minors. So the thing about the introductory remarks is it gives you a general idea, sometimes a specific idea of what the legislature is trying to accomplish and what they believe. And right here is very clear: reproductive rights, including minors. Now, Hawaii state law already allows minors 14 and up to get abortions and access some of
Without
these
parental
mental
consent.
health services without parental consent. So again, I don't want people jumping up and what we got to stop this. That is already in the law. But when they write it in their introductory remarks like this, we are absolutely clear that this is what they are trying to do.
So before you move on, I want to go back to page 3, line 18. While the legal landscape has fundamentally changed, I wish the opponents of this in the legislature, in the Senate, would have said, excuse me, would you please explain what part of the changes to the legal landscape we're talking about? Because from 1973, when Roe and Doe were initially used to create a so-called constitutional right to abortion, for 50 years, regularly we were all reading about challenges to abortion restrictions. Most were not allowed, some were allowed. That's legal landscape changes. So are they talking about those or are they not talking about those? Are they only talking about Dobbs? I don't know. But nobody in the legislature made them tell us what they mean. And that bothers me. They're not doing their job.
Well, and I will tell you, just going up a couple lines from that section, right? It says this act is intended to maintain the constitutional right. Now, remember, we're going to be talking about SB 1167. So they want to expand what that constitutional right says. So really, SB1 goes hand in hand with 1167. Correct. And so people have to realize that, what if we kill this one and this one? They're both bad.
Well, so like in this SB1, they're maintaining the viability standard, but in SB 1167, they're getting rid of it.
Right.
At the constitutional level.
Yeah.
So the dishonesty or the lack of honesty, I just think it's dishonest.
No.
But anyway.
Okay. So so now we're going to get a little bit more general, although I'm going to give you some time to get specific, because I'm calling this the monster bill. Because they have got all kinds of stuff in there.
Yeah, they put a bunch of separate bills
so
together.
Let's go through a couple of the quick things. So part 1 of the measure is going to allow licensed physician assistants to perform abortions.
So what is a licensed physician assistant, Mrs. Andrade?
They have, our state and many states have the ability for doctors who go medical doctors to go so far in their career to do almost everything that a doctor can. They can't do everything that a doctor can do. But now what's happening is as the laws change every year, they keep adding more and more and more to what these guys are allowed to do. Now
so
the state laws.
I want to jump in right there because lawyers have legal assistants, also known as paralegals,
right,
that we can train to do certain of the background work. Mm-hmm. Which in the medical context would not include doing the actual procedure. The non-lawyers can't go and argue the case in court.
Right.
So is a physician assistant more like a doctor than a paralegal or legal assistant is not like a lawyer?
Well, I know, and I'm no expert in this, but my understanding is that there are some medical procedures they can do on their own. My daughter goes and sees a physician assistant for some of her gynecological stuff. But my understanding is, and please, if you guys know more about this, again, comment. But I think that they do have to report to a physician. So when they're doing the stuff, I think they have to, they're kind of under.
So how does their list of authorizations grow? Is it through legislation or up to the doctor?
I think there is some state licensing stuff that they have to do.
Okay, so the doctor can't say, I've trained you enough, you can go ahead and take this guy's heart out.
Well, I think that when they are moving through the legislative process, their scope of practice in state law does get expanded. And that's normally where the Hawaii Medical Association, groups like that will weigh in and say, yes, we like this, we don't like this.
So what we want people to understand is SB1 is allowing non-physicians, people who are not medical doctors, who have not gone to medical school, to start doing abortion procedures.
Now, Hawaii already, in 2019, allowed advanced practice registered nurses to do this.
So then in the hierarchy of medical education, you have medical doctors that went to med school, and became residents, and then maybe they're certified somewhere, board certified. And then you have RNs, nurses.
Well, I'm wondering.
Hang on. And in between doctors and nurses, you have advanced practice registered nurses.
Oh, and I think that physician assistants might be a little higher on that
Higher
too.
than nurses?
I would think so. They're a physician assistant. I don't know. So
Okay,
maybe
well, we should know that.
maybe we'll do another show where we look at all this, because I think it does make a difference. So basically, that's what they're doing in part one. What they're also doing is they're going into the statute 453.16, which is the abortion statute. And they're going to make some changes in there. What they're going to do is they're doing what I see some administrative changes, or moving some stuff around. But I think what we need to be concerned about is that they're removing the statement. So this statement is going to go away. The abortion is performed in a hospital licensed by the Department of Health, or operated by the federal government or an agency thereof, or in a clinic or physician or osteopathic physician's office. So now
they're not saying where you can do them. They're just saying the prior requirement is being deleted.
Right.
So now there's no description of where a non-medical doctor or advanced practice nurse can perform abortion procedures.
Exactly.
It can be in the car, it could be in the parking lot, it could be in a hotel room. It could be, there's no limit. There's no description of the location.
There's not. So I'm going to move quickly, because I know you want to get to 1167. So some of the other stuff they're doing there, this bill is a monster bill, so there's no way we can deal with it in half an hour. But they're also going to, they've also went through the different statutes, and they're now taking out the name female. And now they're doing,
this is all part of the woke transgender movement.
Yes, so now they're doing the pregnant person.
That's part of 1167 as well.
Pregnant person, and all of that.
But there's a big thing in SB1 which pertains to Hawaii attacking other states on the mainland who have a different view of abortion in their legislature. And Texas is the main target at this point, because Texas passed a law that the Supreme Court upheld a year ago that said, if you're impacted negatively by an abortion, you can sue. It's not a crime. They're not going back to pre-Roe criminal penalties for the physician. But what they're saying is, if you're injured, either, and not even the woman getting the abortion, but her family members, her husband or boyfriend, because abortion does kill a human baby, and other people in the family are losing that family member, right? And so what it said is, if the abortion is performed before, I forget exactly what the cutoff was, you can sue for money. And what Hawaii is saying is, well, we're not going to let you come here and enforce that. We're not going to give you subpoenas to take testimony from the doctors or the medical staff or anybody. And if you get a judgment in Texas, we're not going to let you collect it on the doctor's assets here in Hawaii, which is ridiculous, because the full faith and credit clause of the U.S. Constitution requires that Hawaii, being a state in the Union, give full faith and credit to court orders, contracts, judgments, and other things like that from every single other state.
Except now, when abortion is the topic.
Well, that's what Hawaii thinks they're doing. And the question would be why.
Well, it's not just Hawaii, right? There's several blue states that are going this route.
SB1 is a Hawaii law. It's not anybody else's.
Right. So do you foresee that there's going to be some issues if this bill passes?
What's going to have to happen is somebody in Texas or in another state that passes a similar law is going to be injured by an abortion that is done here that injured somebody there. So either the girl comes here or whatever. She lives here already. I don't know. But an injured person is going to sue, and they're going to want to depose the doctor that did the abortion in Hawaii. And you get subpoenas in the state where the person is, because the subpoena from your state where that person is not in state court doesn't have any legal authority. You need a subpoena under the state statutes where the person is. And they're going to try to get a subpoena. And if SB1 passes and becomes law, the court in Hawaii is going to say, nope, this is an abortion case. We're not going to give you the subpoena. And then there's going to have to be a full faith and credit clause lawsuit in federal court, which will take many years to get up to the Supreme Court to have Hawaii told once again, you can't pass these unconstitutional statutes.
Well, and we're going to have to continue to talk about this, because as the bill's moving through the House, now the House could do one of two things. They could say, we want to pass this. We don't want it to drag out. So let's just do all unamended. It goes, then it vote on by the full House. If that happens, because it's already passed the Senate and the House makes no changes, it could go right to the governor for signature. So that would be the easy, fast way to do it. Now, if the House makes any changes and the Senate really just wants to move it forward, they could do one of two things. They could just accept the House's amendments, and then that would go straight to the governor, or they would say, no, we don't agree, and then it would go to conference committee. So we're going to need to pay attention to what they're going to do on this. So let's use this last 5 minutes or so to talk about the Constitutional Amendment, because it's a very simple bill. It's only a couple pages long. And the two important points of Senate Bill 1167 is, first, they have language of what they're going to.
Well, let's read the question. They want to put this question on the ballot in November
but
of 2024.
But look at the definition first, because they give a definition of what they're trying to do, and then they have the question. And you brought to the attention that it doesn't say the same thing.
It doesn't say the same thing.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So what are they claiming that they're trying to do? Read that sentence first.
Well, okay, so they want individual reproductive rights.
Right.
And they're saying that the state can't not enact a law or take any action that denies or interferes with an individual's reproductive freedom in their most intimate decisions, which include their fundamental right to choose to have an abortion and their fundamental right to choose or refuse contraceptives. That's the description of what they're proposing. But then they put a question to be printed on our ballot in 2024 that we don't want to wait till the very end to read. We want to know ahead of time what we're doing. And it's going to say, if this is the language that ends up being passed, shall the Constitution, and this is of the state of Hawaii, be amended to state that no law shall be enacted nor any state action taken that denies or interferes with an individual's reproductive freedom in their most intimate decisions, including the fundamental right to abortion and contraceptives.
Now, if people vote yes, okay, let's just get people to understand, to start talking about this. Now, if they vote yes to that, what is going to be in the Constitution? Not that question. It's going to be that definition earlier, right?
Correct.
So that, again, that's what we got to get people to understand. Here's what they're going to ask you. If you say yes,
then this is what it means.
This is what it means. And so, and now if they say no, then nothing. If that wins, then too bad. The legislature will have done all this work for absolutely nothing. You and I will definitely be drinking martinis, sitting down watching the sunset, going, "Yay! Finally, something great." So,
but the thing is, individuals don't get abortions. Pregnant females get abortions. They are individuals, but there's a whole lot of other people that are individuals that don't get pregnant because they're not women, or they're women but they're not pregnant. They don't get abortions. The only people that get abortions are pregnant women. So this is adding a whole thing to the Constitution that says individuals other than pregnant women also have the right to reproductive freedom and to choose or reject contraceptives. So who would those people be? I don't know. But the guy that delivers the sperm to the egg that the woman gets pregnant from now is going to be, under the Constitution, somebody with reproductive rights. So does that mean that his reproductive rights can trump her reproductive rights when they don't agree on whether she should get that abortion? I don't know. But when I pointed it out to them, they haven't seen fit to change it, because I think using the word individual is a trans function of the legislature. They're trying to make this not a gender-specific constitutional right.
Well, you and I saw something very interesting in the Senate Judiciary hearing. So Senator Joy San-Buenaventura, after that whole question with you happened, right? Mm-hmm. And she said, well, what if we use, and she suggested language, right? What if we said this? And it was the first time I have ever in my experience saw the chair of the committee say, we can't do any changes.
Want that.
Yeah. So, but maybe you can talk to the next person and have it. I have never seen that happen before. So it sounds to me like the writing is already on the wall.
So this is a constitutional amendment. Do not, wait until you get your ballot in the mail to start thinking about this. And do not wait to open your ballot until the day before it's due, which is what too many of us do too often.
But do like this video, share this video, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know we upload a new video, and stay tuned because we're going to be talking about the gun laws in Hawaii. And does that affect you? Should it affect you? Do you want it to affect you? Well, stay tuned and we're going to talk about that next week. Mahalo, everybody.
Aloha.